because anyway, it's a historical survey, and I hope that I will reach my objective to show you what is really the situation, what was the situation during the dictatorship in Spain, and the situation of the liberalism and the school of the Austrian School, and also the trend from that time. I can say that, yesterday we listened to Professor Erich Goethe talking about the kind of different the choices of government, democracy, and other kind of situation in government. But Spain was at that time, Franco established an authoritarian and autarchic economic system. So, as Professor Goethe said, authoritarian system can be good or also can be bad. In this case, in Spain, during the dictatorship, we suffer both sides, a positive and a negative. The first time was really very negative because it was an autarchic economic system. So the country was really isolated. But after a few years, after the end of the Civil War, the situation changed completely, and between 1939, which was the end of the Civil War, and 1959, which was the starting of liberalization, Spain started to join the most developed countries in the world, and reaching by the decade of the 60s, the 10th most economic powerful country. That's why when I was delivering a lecture in Central and Eastern European countries, I was responsible for negotiation on behalf of the European Commission, and they asked me, "Oh, you are Spanish. Well, please, let us know, explain how you did it, the transition from dictatorship to a democratic system and also an open market." And I said, "Please, I will explain to you, but you cannot copy the system, because it's not the same." And it's not the same because this situation helped to change completely the panorama in Spain. Both economic and political system were not the same. During this period, can you see very few economists know that Professor Hayek paid a visit in 1949. Well, in fact, there were 3 professors were invited, not only Professor Hayek, but also Schumpeter and Walter Eucken. The only one who delivered 3 lectures that you can read here, it was Walter Eucken. But this kind of point of view from the liberalism, from the market economy, was taking advantage of the own government. And not only, I mean, the politicians, but the professors, like you can see here, Alberto Jastres was a professor at the University of Madrid, and he uses the experiences of Hayek and other economists to implement market economy in Spain. So that's why, well, this was the starting point. This was the starting point to develop the right economy for the future. It was establishing the roots really to develop a real market economy, but also the implementation of the Spanish economy into the global economy. At that time, Spain joined all the international economic forum and different activities that join the global world. So finally, Spain started to take off from the autarkic system to a real market economy. In Spain, there was not a faculty of economics, but we have to remember that even in the 30s, earlier than the visit of Professor Hayek, John Maynard Keynes delivered a lecture. He was invited to deliver a lecture in Madrid. And the lecture was The Economic Possibilities of Our Grandchildren. Well, but at that time, he suggested to establish a faculty of economics. And this is what politicians at that time and some professors, they started to do it. In Spain, well, I will not repeat all these names of this professor who received education abroad in Tübingen and also in Berlin University with Gustav Mahler and Ladisław von Borkiewicz. So it's something that is a process. So it's not something that it happens overnight. So it was a process even before the Civil War. Unfortunately, all these projects, a former faculty of economics in Valencia and Barcelona, was not succeeded because of the outbreak of the war. So in the aftermath of the Civil War is where the first faculty of economics in the University of Madrid ran activities. It was 1943-44. And I mentioned here different professors that also cooperate to establish this trend towards the open economy. And mainly, some of them, they received the influence of Professor Hayek as well, and also other economists from the liberal ideology. And finally, in this exposition as how the economy in Spain was changing, I have to refer to a professor who is considered one of the founders of the Faculty of Economics in Madrid. He was a German professor, Heinrich von Stackelberg. Probably most of you are familiar with him. He was a Nazi German professor, but he left Germany and he was established in Spain, in Madrid, because he participated in the attack in 1944 against Hitler. So he started teaching in Spain. He showed his students how he backed the market economy against the social economy, and well, it was a period that it was very interesting for the university and the student. Most of their students became professors for next generations. So they influence new generation of students in economics. And this is what is important from the point of view of the school, the Austrian School of Economics, because it was very important, all these people that Luis Olariaga and other professors that not only were professors at the university, but they also were high-rank officials, either in the government or in the Bank of Spain. And if we reach 1953, where the university counts already with the Faculty of Economics, and we can say that it was really the starting point for the economic studies in Spain, and at that time still remained the influence of the Keynesian theories. And when in 1969, that right now is the 50th anniversary, I belong to that course, and we are the students who grew up under Keynesian theories. Well, he replaced all the theories. It existed before just to establish a monopoly of Keynesianism. But anyway, in the faculties of law still remain the remains of liberalism. Mainly, I should mention the Professor Lucas Beltran, who was a great professor. I cooperated with him in his chair in Madrid. And so he also belonged to Mont Pelerin Society, and he wrote a lot of books and a lot of articles. So he improved the mentality of people in Spain in the environmental atmosphere at the university. So, and I would like now to go right. You can give a look that I already mentioned all these professors. So anyway, I think that these articles will be published, so you can manage and even to consult some references. So this was the transition structure, what I just told you concerning Lucas Beltran, who is really the father of the new wave of economists belonging and supporting liberal ideas, mainly the Austrian School of Economics. So, I would like to underline somebody who is not Spanish, but who made a great role, played a great role in Spain to support the economic liberal ideology and also the contribution of the Spanish economy to the European economy and even to the Austrian School of Economics. And what I mean is the school, the School of Salamanca. All of you, I'm sure you are familiar with the School of Salamanca and the roots of the liberalism and the contribution of the some aspects that later on were taken into consideration in the European economy. And as I said, I would like to mention and stress your attention to Mrs. Marjorie Grice Huntington. She was a British researcher. She met Professor Hyatt in London, and Professor Hyatt suggested her to research about the scholastic in Salamanca. And he wrote a lot. I encourage you, if you are interested in this topic, to consult all these works of Mrs. Grice Huntington. It's really something very important for researcher. So it's the key to start any research if you really want to find out, because well, he was the first person who really decided, not a Spaniard, but a British, who decided to research what was the role of the School of Salamanca and its contribution to the European and the world economy. So from this point, I would like to jump over to how the situation is presently in Spain. I mean, how the teaching in economics has been improved in the past 20 years. As I already mentioned, the Faculty of Economics during the school year, the academic year 1969 to 1974, that means a year earlier that Franco died. So it was still under dictatorship. So in that occasion, we still study under the influence of Keynesian theories. And main professor, Professor Rojo, also Enrique Fuentes and Manuel Varela. So the dictatorship was over, and the Faculty of Law still remained as a refuge for liberal ideas. You are familiar with Professor Pedro Esbarz, that I just, well, I have a good contact with him, and I just met him on the plane going to Brussels a couple of weeks ago. Also, Francisco Cabrillo, with whom I cooperate for several years, and other people that you are familiar with, because I learned that some of you have contact with Rey Juan Carlos University, so you are familiar also with Carlos Rodriguez Brown and Professor Jesus Huerta de Soto. Well, the Professor Huerta de Soto has the only one master degree on Austrian School in Spain, and I think that in the whole Europe. I don't know if somebody knows that it exists another one. Well, please let me know. So, well, this is the situation. This is what I really wanted. Of course, there are other institutions like Instituto Juan de Mariana, and also just recently established the new campus, the Universidad Francisco Marroquín in Madrid. So it's something that, well, it's concern for the very recent improvements that if you are interested, of course, you will go inside. And anyway, if you are very keen to get other information, please do not hesitate to contact me. So thank you very much for your kind attention. I hope I meet with the timing, and thank you very much. And well, this is a historical survey, but maybe somebody want to ask something. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, so one quick question.
Christoph Ledel, thank you very much, sir. Has there been any influence by the dictator himself on the economic system?
Pardon, I couldn't hear you properly.
Has there been any influence of the dictator himself on the economic system of Spain?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. The dictatorship was established and autocratic. So Spain was isolated. So established, we produce everything, we copy. The government copied the system of the Italian economy. So even institutions, even the industrial corporations were copied in Spain. So there was not competition at all. But a few group of professors, like Mr. Ujaster, Rojo, Borrella, and other people, they really fight even against the government to open our economy. And only because at that time, it was 1959, at that time, we started open our economy to the world with other agreement with the United States also, and we also sent a student in economics to the Minnesota University. So for the first time after the Civil War, we resume contact at university level. But of course, there was a great influence, and it took a lot of time, and even until the time in 1986 when Spain joined the European Union. It still remains some aspects of the centralized economy.
Okay. I see there are more questions, but we have to move forward. Thank you again, Dr. Puente.
Okay, thank you.
So our next speaker is Juraj Karpiš from Slovakia, and he will be talking about why Bitcoin is